do you try to prioritize your stuff? Like, do you throughout your day, like, I'm sure you're making decisions about like, it's more important for me to do this or that or the other. Like, how do you do that? How do you handle that?
Yeah, I do this differently now just because of where things are in business and everything. But when I used to do this, I didn't do this every single day, but I had a journal. I can't remember what it was called. It was like the daily something. You can buy it on Amazon. I'll figure out what it is. But I had this basically like daily tracker, and I would sit down in the mornings, most mornings, and like write down my most important tasks. So that was helpful when I didn't have an assistant or employees or things like that were kind of like driving different things. Um, as things got more complicated, then it became more of like using a project management tool like Asana or ClickUp. And what works best for me is like having a VA basically give me a list of things that like, here are things that you need to get done today. And so those are more like busy task types of things or things that just need my attention to kind of unblock people. And then from there, like my brain just kind of is able to naturally navigate towards the things that are kind of the bigger picture items because it's like I have kind of a list. Somebody gives me a list of like, okay, we need like this morning, my assistant Christine like sent me like 6 things. I need your input on these things. And I looked at it this morning and I was like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, do this. And then for the rest of the day, I don't have to really think about those kind of things. I can think about like big picture, like who are we hiring next, what's the next move for this, how are we doing these different things, or talk to you about like different product ideas. But in the early days when you don't have those things, like for me it just helped writing it down similar to the way that you did and just making like a checklist almost, and just knocking those things out. But like I said, you don't even have to be like super type A about it. I'm not great at those things. I probably did it like 3.5 days out of the week on average where I would sit down and actually do that, but that's way better than none. And so that I felt like has been helpful for me, especially early.
Let's be real for a second. Like, my goal is to be consistent every day and to do things every day. And I don't, like, because I
Yeah.
don't, I fail at that all the time. Like, I fail to kind of meet that standard. But it's that same idea from earlier. Like, I know the person that I want to be, you know, and actually, even with that, I do and I don't, right? Like, there are certain things about myself that I know I want this, I want to be this kind of person and do these kind of things. And then I have other things where it's like, I'm teasing with the idea of this. Like, I'm interested in this,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not sure if that's something I want to pursue yet. Right. And
Yeah.
that can be hobbies or, whatever. And so, but, you have that idea of who you want to become, what you want to do, and you try to become a little bit closer to that every single day and to do a little bit better every single day. And if you have a bad day, then you wipe it off and you move on to the next day. Right. And I
Yeah.
think the people that are like really successful, like, they don't allow and this happens to me too, because I think it happens to everybody, but they don't allow one mistake, one failure, one bad day to spiral into three. Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Where,
Yeah.
like,
They catch it before it goes that way.
yeah. And
Yeah.
and you and you have to like compartmentalize like the different parts of your life too, because I have certain things that, like, something can happen and I can just completely brush it off and like move on and it doesn't happen. And then I have other areas of my life where one mistake I will spiral.
Yeah.
Right. Because and so it's just like you have to know that too. And you have to not let a mistake in one thing justify you succumbing to the voice and making mistakes in other compartments or areas of your life as well. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. And I think one of the important things I've learned, you kind of touched on it, is like you have to, you're trying to be a version of yourself and you're kind of like working toward that. I've realized that no matter how successful you are in business, like that never stops. It never stops. It doesn't matter what level you get to. It's an uncomfortable concept of like, oh, you never actually arrive where you want to be. Like you never actually arrive to the person that you want to be. But like once you're okay with that and comfortable with that, there's a lot of freedom in that because it's this like continual ladder that everybody's climbing together. But as long as you're climbing more days than you're not, like that's good.
if you're going on this journey, most of the people in your day-to-day life are not on that journey. and do not understand and are not wired that way. And so it's going to feel
That is
very
true.
lonely, and it's going to be very difficult. And if you start, working from home by yourself as well, like you're going to experience that even more. So I just want you to be aware of that. And like, if you start to feel depressed, if you start to feel lonely, if you start to feel anything negative like that, like that's kind of normal. And I want you to know that. Find mentors, mentor other people that aren't where you are, find peers, friends, like build that network. You need those things in your life. Like, and you need to be careful of that in this world, because you are going to have a lot of self-doubt. You are going to be dealing with internal and external voices that are telling you that you can't do it, or that don't understand, or you shouldn't do it that way, or you should do this instead. And it can be very overwhelming. So like, if you end up in that place, like, talk to somebody, please.
Yeah, no, that's great.